The golden age of cinema wasn't built on pure talent. It was engineered through ruthless contracts, forced silence, and the systematic protection of absolute monsters. Unsealing these buried archives, Hollywood Stars and Scars examines the most heavily guarded Hollywood scandals in history, exposing how billion-dollar PR machines erased decades of abuse, addiction, and psychological terror. Yet no cover-up is more devastating than the revered trailblazer who lured a 15-year-old starlet into a locked Chateau Marmont suite, enforcing a half-century of terrified silence. When the applause faded, who truly paid the ultimate price for fame? Behind the glitter, the scars remain. Welcome to Hollywood Stars and Scars. Number 20, John Wayne. For decades, he stood untouchable as the ultimate symbol of American masculinity, riding across silver screens into the hearts of millions. John Wayne wasn't just a movie star. He was a constructed monument of patriotism, his rugged silhouette bathed in the golden light of undisputed box office supremacy. Yet beneath the Stetson and the manufactured swagger lay a deeply polarizing reality that studio executives fought desperately to conceal. The turning point arrived when unfiltered print interviews exposed a startlingly different man, one whose documented remarks shattered the hero myth. Archival files soon revealed a devastating PR crisis disguised as rugged individualism, stripping away the cinematic varnish to expose an unyielding, controversial ideology. Retrospective scrutiny inevitably caught up, permanently staining a legendary legacy and placing him on modern lists of the industry's most condemned figures. The fabricated hero of the frontier was forever swallowed by the ugly truth he refused to leave behind. Number 19, Joan Crawford. Ruling the silver screen with iron-willed elegance, she defined the absolute pinnacle of Golden Age royalty. Joan Crawford was an Academy Award-winning powerhouse, demanding perfection in every camera angle, every costume, and every meticulously crafted public appearance. Her grand estates and flawless red carpet arrivals projected an image of supreme, untouchable triumph. Yet the immaculate branding shattered entirely with a devastating posthumous release, a highly controversial memoir penned by her own adopted daughter. The explosive publication sparked an unprecedented media frenzy, transforming her fiercely guarded private life into a public spectacle of alleged psychological tyranny. Overnight, industry insiders watched her carefully constructed legacy dissolve into infamy. The commanding leading lady was permanently rebranded as a terrifying caricature of maternal obsession, her celebrated career instantly eclipsed by chilling reports of hidden domestic cruelty. The relentless pursuit of absolute perfection ultimately transformed a cinematic goddess into a cautionary tale of Hollywood's darkest illusions. Number 18, Bette Davis. Commanding the screen with terrifying intensity, she was an unstoppable force of cinematic nature. With a perpetually poised cigarette and eyes that cut through steel, this Academy Award winner built an empire on playing unapologetically ruthless women. Flashbulbs captured a star who wielded her talent like a weapon, dominating Hollywood. The glamorous illusion of defiance fractured when the crushing reality of her behind-the-scenes reign leaked. Reports stated her relentless demands and explosive behavior created an atmosphere of dread, culminating in unprecedented legal wars against studio executives. Tabloid headlines painted a dark portrait of an actress who fatally blurred the line between her villainous on-screen characters and her off-screen reality. Industry insiders claimed she alienated directors, co-stars, and her own blood, leaving a devastating trail of severed relationships. The once untouchable icon was eventually relegated to campy horror spectacles, her fierce independence decaying into isolated paranoia. True Hollywood power often demands sacrificing one's own humanity just to survive the spotlight. Number 17. Jerry Lewis. The silver screen thrives on the intoxicating illusion of perfect heroes and charismatic leading men. Red carpets continually broadcast an impeccably curated image, masking the brutal reality of an industry that frequently rewards ruthlessness. Behind closed studio doors, fixers aggressively averted devastating PR crises to protect some of the most evil actors in Hollywood history. A destructive cycle of fame granted absolute power, allowing profound cruelty to flourish unchecked, while executives buried toxic behavior and silenced victims. Industry insiders claimed that preserving a lucrative box office brand always took precedence over human collateral. The consequences manifested in whispered blacklists and traumatized co-stars, leaving lasting damage on anyone who crossed these untouchable titans. The entertainment machine constructs radiant gods entirely indifferent to the monsters hiding within the spotlight. A buried studio memo would soon shatter the wholesome illusions surrounding a supposedly joyful comedic genius Jerry Lewis. Number 16. James Dean. James Dean was the undisputed poster boy for youthful rebellion, capturing a generation's quiet fury with a smoldering gaze. Studio executives marketed a brooding, magnetic outcast who dominated the silver screen, turning a red windbreaker into an eternal uniform of cool. He commanded unparalleled cultural power, destined for absolute Hollywood royalty. Behind the meticulously crafted mystique, a destructive cycle of fame pushed him toward dangerous extremes. The intense pressure of overnight stardom fueled an uncontrollable need for velocity, blurring lines between his reckless cinematic personas and a fierce adrenaline addiction. Industry insiders watched nervously as the rebel image consumed the actor, defying strict studio warnings. That insatiable chase abruptly shattered on a lonely highway, cementing an irreversible tragedy that instantly halted a brilliant trajectory. The man vanished, replaced by a heavily commodified phantom frozen perfectly in time. Hollywood immortalizes the beautiful rebel, but relentlessly extracts the ultimate sacrifice to manufacture a permanent icon. Number 15. Kirk Douglas. Kirk Douglas reigned as the ultimate symbol of rugged masculinity, a Hollywood gladiator whose commanding screen presence defined an era of cinematic epics. Flashbulbs constantly chased the box office titan, who projected unshakable strength, embodying the heroic leading man across decades of red carpet dominance. Beneath that triumphant persona, a fiercely protected secret threatened to dismantle his untouchable legacy. Deeply suppressed allegations eventually surfaced, painting a chilling portrait of a ruthless star who allegedly leveraged immense industry power to silence vulnerable starlets. Industry insiders claimed a devastating PR crisis was narrowly averted by studio fixers who aggressively buried toxic behavior and intimidated victims. Though defenders furiously dismissed these claims, relentless whispers forever fractured his heroic facade. The unyielding champion was later reported as an alleged architect of a profoundly abusive system. Tinseltown expertly constructs invincible demigods, meticulously hiding the monstrous reality required to maintain their pedestals. Number 14. Mickey Rooney. Mickey Rooney epitomized the wholesome all-American boy next door, an energetic prodigy who rapidly ascended to become a heavily bankable box office titan. Studio cameras constantly framed a charismatic teenager, securing millions while establishing an unbreakable brand of innocent perfection. Beneath that billion-dollar grin, A destructive cycle of fame incubated a profound entitlement that consistently threatened his guarded public image. Industry insiders claimed the beloved scamp masked a tyrannical temperament, landing him among the industry's darkest figures as a devastating PR crisis loomed whenever his severe financial recklessness leaked. Fixers worked overtime, aggressively burying an allegedly toxic reality to sustain the lucrative illusion. Eventually, the eternal youth aged out of his untouchable status, plunging into a grim reality of relentless bankruptcies and bitter courtroom battles. He lost his legendary fortune entirely. The studio system eagerly manufactures golden child idols, only to ruthlessly abandon them the moment their profitable innocence evaporates. Number 13. Faye Dunaway. Faye Dunaway defined a new era of cinematic glamour, an Academy Award-winning powerhouse whose razor-sharp features and fierce intensity dominated the silver screen. Red carpets constantly illuminated a fiercely intelligent leading lady, an untouchable icon who commanded absolute authority on every prestigious set. Behind the designer gowns, an intense pursuit of perfection fueled a destructive cycle of fame that alienated her most loyal collaborators. Leaked stories of a notoriously tyrannical temperament bled into the tabloids, painting a portrait of a volatile star whose relentless demands triggered severe PR panics. Industry insiders claimed this uncompromising hostility transformed highly anticipated productions into traumatic battlegrounds, rapidly fracturing her sophisticated public image. Studios quietly retreated as the decades shifted, leaving an undeniably brilliant legacy overshadowed by a fiercely defended reputation for cruelty. The once revered career dissolved into awkward interviews, disputed reports, and a devastating professional isolation. The silver screen worships demanding perfectionists, but mercilessly banishes those who weaponize their stardom. Number 12. Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra personified mid-century swagger, an Academy Award-winning crooner whose piercing blue eyes hypnotized millions. Flashbulbs continually captured an impeccably tailored powerhouse, a cultural titan who wielded unprecedented authority over both the music charts and Hollywood's exclusive inner circles. Behind the immaculate fedoras, a deeply hidden life exposed chilling connections to organized crime that terrified studio executives. As extensive federal dossiers expanded whispers of a notoriously volatile temper and ruthless intimidation tactics triggered severe PR panics. Industry insiders claimed his undeniable magnetism shielded a destructive cycle of fame where perceived enemies were allegedly silenced through merciless backdoor channels. The meticulously curated aura of untouchable cool gradually fractured under the crushing weight of relentless media scrutiny and disputed reports regarding his mob associations. While he retained immense wealth, his towering legacy remained forever tainted for those who experienced his wrath. The glittering stage constructs untouchable musical gods, effortlessly obscuring the dangerous syndicates operating just outside the frame. Number 11. Greta Garbo. Greta Garbo possessed an ethereal magnetism that single-handedly defined classic cinema's golden era. Studio cameras obsessively tracked the elusive sensation, transforming her striking features into a highly lucrative global obsession that dominated glamorous premieres. Yet the relentless commodification of her identity fueled a destructive cycle of fame that became completely unsustainable. The crushing weight of constant surveillance and invasive tabloid pursuit triggered an abrupt, fiercely guarded retreat at the very height of her unmatched box office supremacy. Industry insiders claimed the ultimate leading lady simply evaporated, choosing a lifelong, heavily fortified seclusion over further public consumption. She morphed into a spectral figure, dodging paparazzi flashes behind oversized sunglasses, a legendary exile trapped by her own immortalized myth. The studio machine relentlessly devours the delicate enigmas it manufactures, leaving behind only fiercely guarded ghosts. However, while some icons fled the spotlight to survive, a deeply buried vault of sealed documents exposes the profoundly sinister actors the industry actively empowered. The archival record exposes a clinical blueprint of destruction. Absolute adoration breeds absolute isolation. Perfect studio lighting routinely masked severe psychological decay. When an ecosystem prioritizes box office revenue over human collateral glaring red flags, explosive hostility, adrenaline addiction, and systematic abuse are not treated as mental health crises. They are quietly managed by PR fixers. Unchecked power strips away empathy, leaving behind fractured minds and collateral damage that spans generations. The machine protects the asset, never the person. But the vault goes deeper. Wait until you see what the fixers couldn't erase. Number 10. Orson Welles. Orson Welles arrived as cinema's ultimate wunderkind, an undisputed auteur, whose groundbreaking masterpiece redefined the very architecture of filmmaking. Flashbulbs eagerly illuminated the brilliant visionary, capturing a commanding titan who secured unparalleled industry reverence. Behind the immense critical acclaim, an escalating battle of egos fueled a destructive cycle of fame that systematically dismantled his untouchable status. Placed among the industry's most notoriously difficult figures, whispers of staggering financial recklessness and a tyrannical temperament triggered a severe PR panic. Industry insiders claimed this unyielding arrogance alienated the crucial financiers required to sustain his towering cinematic ambitions. Stripped of studio backing, the legendary maestro plunged into a grueling reality of abandoned projects and desperate commercial voiceovers. He spent his remaining decades as a brilliant exile fighting fiercely for creative control he would never fully regain. Hollywood demands absolute geniuses, yet mercilessly starves those who refuse to surrender to its ironclad machine. Number 9. Spencer Tracy. Spencer Tracy embodied the gold standard of cinematic integrity, a heavyweight whose weathered nobility commanded absolute respect. Studio cameras meticulously framed a dignified patriarch, projecting a wholesome moral compass that secured unmatched box office prestige. Away from the carefully lit sets, a deeply hidden life exposed a profoundly troubled reality that executives fought ruthlessly to suppress. As the destructive cycle of fame accelerated, whispers of severe off-screen volatility threatened to trigger a devastating PR crisis. Industry insiders claimed his revered public persona masked an increasingly tyrannical disposition, heavily shielded by studio fixers who aggressively buried his toxic behavior. Decades of managed deception ultimately solidified his controversial inclusion among the industry's darkest figures, forever complicating his distinguished legacy. The stoic hero on screen stood in chilling contrast to the fractured reality behind closed doors. The silver screen flawlessly projects moral titans, deliberately obscuring the tormented shadows they cast when the stage lights fade. Number 8. Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando completely shattered traditional cinematic boundaries, introducing a raw, brooding magnetism that forever altered the craft of acting. Paparazzi lenses worshipped the Academy Award-winning heavyweight, projecting a rebellious icon who commanded absolute authority over Hollywood's most prestigious sets. Behind that unrivaled genius, a destructive cycle of fame birthed an escalating megalomania that horrified studio executives. Reports stated his on-set behavior became ruthlessly toxic, culminating in notorious productions where he allegedly crossed severe ethical lines and traumatized vulnerable co-stars. Industry insiders claimed his unrelenting demands triggered continuous, devastating PR panics that fixers aggressively buried. The undisputed titan eventually retreated into profound isolation, completely severing ties with the industry he openly despised. He vanished onto a remote island, leaving behind a monumental legacy, forever shadowed by an undeniable reputation for cruelty. The silver screen eagerly crowns revolutionary artists, flawlessly masking the collateral damage left in their wake. Number 7. W.C. Fields. W.C. Fields defined misanthropic comedy, a masterful vaudevillian turned cinematic titan whose raspy drawl and cynical wit charmed mid-century audiences. Studio cameras perfectly captured a universally beloved curmudgeon, successfully translating his distinct theatrical brilliance into a remarkably lucrative box office brand. Yet behind the meticulously orchestrated comedic stumbling, a destructive cycle of fame masked a severe reliance on alcohol that increasingly compromised his professional reliability. As decades of relentless consumption took their toll, industry insiders claimed his notorious on-set obstinance and deteriorating health triggered quiet but devastating PR panics among anxious executives. The legendary humorist eventually found himself profoundly isolated, his sharp timing severely dulled by the very vices he famously satirized. His final years devolved into a tragic reality of physical collapse and lonely hospital rooms far removed from the thunderous applause of his peak. The entertainment machine enthusiastically profits from the performative drunk, yet callously discards the broken artist behind the punchline. Number 6. Humphrey Bogart. Humphrey Bogart cemented himself as the ultimate noir anti-hero, a trench-coated cynic whose gravelly voice redefined cinematic masculinity. Paparazzi lenses relentlessly tracked the Academy Award-winning heavyweight, crafting an immortal silhouette that dominated glamorous premieres and sophisticated studio marketing. Far removed from the romanticized fog of his most iconic farewells, a destructive cycle of fame concealed a deeply volatile off-screen reality. As relentless alcohol consumption escalated into severe belligerence, industry insiders claimed the beloved tough guy harbored a notoriously explosive temperament. Whispers of highly toxic domestic battles threatened to trigger a devastating PR crisis, forcing executives to aggressively bury the mounting collateral damage. Modern reassessments of his heavily guarded private life eventually situated the celebrated icon among the industry's most controversial figures. Disputed reports suggest the uncompromising screen legend left lasting emotional damage on those trapped within his immediate orbit. Tinseltown expertly packages charismatic cynics, successfully obscuring the deeply troubled men hiding beneath the iconic fedoras. Number 5. Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby was universally revered as America's dad, a wholesome television pioneer whose gentle humor anchored a multi-million-dollar broadcasting empire. Network cameras continuously broadcast an impeccable patriarch, projecting a comforting moral compass that dominated living rooms and secured unprecedented cultural trust. Decades of meticulously guarded secrets ultimately imploded when a devastating PR crisis irrevocably shattered that paternal illusion. More than 60 women bravely stepped forward, exposing a deeply hidden life characterized by chilling allegations of drugging and severe abuse. A terrifying pattern of exploitation unraveled as an avalanche of court documents and suppressed testimonies finally broke through a long-standing media cover-up. The unprecedented public collapse culminated in a historic 2018 criminal conviction, permanently cementing his legacy among the industry's most evil figures. The beloved icon was completely erased, replaced by a disgraced star rotting behind bars. Television expertly manufactures trusted father figures, weaponizing wholesome warmth to camouflage the darkest predators. Number 4. Klaus Kinski. Klaus Kinski commanded the silver screen with terrifying brilliance, parlaying European prestige into a formidable Hollywood legacy. Critics fiercely praised his unparalleled ability to embody complex villains, immortalizing an undisputed cinematic force built on raw, unbridled intensity. Away from the curated applause, a destructive cycle of fame empowered a monster that dwarfed his most sinister characters. Studio insiders reported a notoriously violent temperament, as the volatile star ruthlessly terrorized directors and intimidated vulnerable co-stars across traumatized sets. The industry consistently tolerated this explosive volatility, prioritizing critical acclaim over the safety of those trapped within his orbit. The darkest truth remained buried until long after his death. His own daughters bravely stepped forward, exposing a chilling, hidden life of severe childhood abuse that permanently dismantled his artistic mystique. The cinematic machine gleefully applauds performative monsters, tragically ignoring the very real demons they unleash behind closed doors. Number 3. Spade Cooley. Spade Cooley ruled the 1940s and 1950s as a beloved Western film star and musical sensation. A charismatic cowboy whose toe-tapping rhythms captivated a deeply nostalgic America. Studio cameras continually celebrated a wholesome entertainer, constructing a highly lucrative brand that projected an idealized vision of frontier charm across the nation's theaters. Behind the rhinestone-studded costumes, a destructive cycle of fame nurtured an intensely possessive paranoia that culminated in an unfathomable 1961 nightmare. An explosive jealous rage triggered an irreversible act of fatal domestic violence, permanently shattering his meticulously crafted public persona. Courtroom sketches and chilling police records rapidly replaced his musical accolades as a devastating PR crisis exposed the horrifying reality behind the curtain. A highly publicized trial cemented his permanent disgrace, resulting in a first-degree murder conviction that left the former idol rotting in prison. The entertainment machine enthusiastically profits from the wholesome cowboy illusion, purposefully ignoring the terrifying outlaws hiding directly in the spotlight. Number 2. Tom Neal. Tom Neal captivated audiences as the quintessential leading man in the 1945 cinematic noir Detour. Studio lighting perfectly framed a ruggedly handsome star who quickly secured a highly sought-after position within Tinseltown's competitive hierarchy, projecting the brooding allure that defined an era of sophisticated thrillers. Beneath the polished exterior, a deeply volatile reality fueled the destructive cycle of fame. A devastating PR crisis rapidly unfolded when a notorious, jealousy-fueled altercation left a fellow actor with severe injuries, instantly blacklisting the once promising talent. Executives could not suppress the terrifying public collapse as unchecked explosive rage alienated his remaining loyal defenders. The absolute consequences of his aggression culminated in an irreversible 1965 tragedy. Chilling court records detailed a fatal act of domestic violence against his third wife, permanently replacing his cinematic accolades with a lengthy manslaughter sentence behind bars. Tinseltown flawlessly projects romanticized anti-heroes, completely failing to warn us when those exact monsters step out of the shadows. Number 1. Robert Blake. Basking in the shadows of 1940s cinema, Tom Neal emerged as the defining face of the classic noir thriller Detour. Audiences were mesmerized by a hard-boiled leading man who navigated Tinseltown's elite circles. He commanded undivided attention, projecting an intoxicating blend of danger and charisma on glamorous red carpets. That meticulously crafted illusion rapidly collapsed into a devastating PR crisis when an uncontrollable jealousy-fueled rage spilled into reality. A horrifying altercation left a fellow actor with severe injuries, instantly blacklisting the once revered star. Industry insiders watched as a destructive cycle of fame exposed a violent lifestyle executives could no longer hide. This chilling off-screen volatility reached an unthinkable climax in 1965. Court documents detailed a catastrophic act of fatal domestic violence against his third wife, cementing a lengthy manslaughter conviction that locked the fallen idol behind bars. The cinematic machine constantly manufactures brooding anti-heroes, deliberately ignoring the monsters lurking beyond the frame. Fame is a ruthless grinder disguised as a coronation. Behind the engineered smiles of these Hollywood scandals lies a profoundly isolating reality, real people fracturing under the suffocating weight of their own myth. The studios built monuments to perfection while ignoring desperate cries for help. At Hollywood Stars and Scars, the revelation isn't the tragedy itself. It's recognizing the immense courage required to step out of a toxic spotlight and save your own mind before the applause consumes you. When the final projector cools and the velvet curtains close, the applause fades into a deafening silence. The golden statues remain immaculately polished, but the human collateral is quietly swept beneath the red carpet. Do not let the billion-dollar PR machines dictate history. Subscribe to Hollywood Stars and Scars as we continue to unseal classified dossiers, decode the media's elaborate lies, and expose the most guarded Hollywood scandals ever recorded. Because an eternal star is always forged from an unforgivable scar.